Just what convinced Gulchehra Hoja, a former producer for a Chinese state-owned television network, to risk her life and defect to America? Why has the Chinese Communist Party detained over 1 million Uyghur Muslims in re-education camps in Xinjiang, where they are brainwashed and tortured? And why is the Communist Party taking Uyghur children from their homes and putting them in state-run facilities, where they're forbidden to speak their language and observe other parts of their culture? This is American Thought Leaders, and I'm Jekielek. In this special episode of American Thought Leaders, Epoch Times journalist Venus Upadhayaya hosts an interview with Gulchehra Hoja, a prominent Uyghur journalist for Radio Free Asia. Before her defection to the United States, Gulchehra worked as a program producer for Xinjiang TV, a state-controlled network that is part of the Chinese regime's vast propaganda apparatus. We discuss her defection from China and the heavy price she has had to pay for her activism and public stance against the Chinese Communist regime's treatment of her people. We also look deeper at what exactly compels the Chinese Communist Party to brutally persecute Uyghurs, as well as other religious and spiritual groups in China.
Tell us about your childhood and tell us about how it was like growing up in a region that's called Xinjiang now.
I was born in Urumqi, which is capital of our homeland. We Uyghurs call our homeland, like historic name, East Turkestan. After Chinese government, Communist Party occupied our country, renamed Xinjiang. That means is new territory. In my childhood, I remember, I grown up with a very cultural, very happy family. So all of our family members can play some kind of traditional instrument. We love to dance, we love to sing, just find a way together, gather somewhere and play our traditional music, we sing, we eat our traditional foods, It's like joy, every day like holidays.
Okay, that's very nice. So you were a journalist on various Chinese media, like you said that you came to United States for work, to work with the RFA. But before that, you were a journalist with various Chinese media. So tell us more about it. How was it working in Xinjiang for various Chinese media?
After I graduate Xinjiang Normal University, I start work in Xinjiang TV as a TV host and TV writer, also a program producer. So after that years to 1969, I start work in Xinjiang TV. I created first ever Uyghur language children program in Xinjiang TV. So in TV history, that was the first half an hour children program. I also hosted that program. I did host 5 years. Wow. Many programs. Wow. And I also host some Uyghur music cultural program, or sometimes I invited to the CCTV to do the bilingual cultural program. As you know, in China, all the media, including TV, even the movies, all the publishers, is controlled by Communist Party, Chinese government. That's why you don't feel you're really doing like what you read about, like what is the press, what is the journalism. We all doing is like follow some construction, like producing by Chinese government. So we follow the order. That's totally like propaganda. For example, if some earthquake happening in the village, when we go with the camera, so the village officials control us, says, don't shoot those part, very sad part, like people are dying or suffering. Just shoot this part, like Chinese officials or the army came to the people to help them. So when we produce news, not focus on what's happening on there, just focus on how the Chinese government to help those peoples. We are doing propaganda actually. After 2000, Chinese government start to took over all our Uyghur language education. So they little by little banned Uyghur language in the schools from middle school. So they start move like teenagers to mainland China called Xinjiang ban. They start moving every year 1,000 Uyghur children to mainland China. So that program, like we as Xinjiang TV main propaganda station, they order us to propaganda to people, says this is the very best like policy for Uyghur people, so they should send their children to mainland China. That time we like question us why then they develop the schools, why they just separate the children from the family to mainland China. What is the reason? That's the big question, but we cannot ask them. So when I learn, so they gonna do more every year. So inside me is have guiltiness, you know, we are lying to people. So I was very hurting inside, but that's my job. That's why I must do in the Xinjiang TV. We produce several programs says this bilingual education is the best chose for families, for their kids, for their kids' future. So actually no, because I saw those kids suffering in the mainland China. I produced those programs. I was traveling to different cities. The Xinjiang band established in the different Chinese schools. Those kids after see me, they crying so much. They told me they cannot speak their own language in the school, in the
hostel.
Yeah, they cannot talk each other with Uyghur language. If the Han Chinese student or the teacher knows that, they will get punished. So they cannot call their family on phone. They cannot read any Uyghur books in school. So the cultural is very different from Uyghur culture, the Chinese cultural. Even what we eat is very different because we are Muslim. The kids couldn't eat halal food in there, not even the cultural food, halal food. They didn't provide them halal food. So they were suffering. So after I saw that, I filmed that, and inside me is very strong guiltiness, you know. People loves me. People believe what I said, you know. But Chinese government using us to propaganda their evil policy to our people. So that time I was suffering from this guiltiness. So in 2001 summer, I have opportunity to take a vacation time. So I went to Europe. So after I went to Europe, I start search like activities all over the world, Uyghur activities. So I searched some of the organization websites and about news about their activities, and then I start listening to RFA. I first time heard Uyghurs says free East Turkestan, free East Turkestan, free Uyghurs. I was crying. I cannot just control myself. I don't know. It's like inside me says, this is you should do, you know. You love this job, but you cannot do even your job freely. So I want to be part of them, you know. That's why I just called RFA. I said, I'm Gulchehra. So I came from Xinjiang TV. I want to work for Radio Free Asia. It was the phone answered by our former director of Uyghur service, Dolkon Kambari. He was shocked, say, oh, you are Gulchehra? So how you out from China? I said, I was traveling to Europe, but I start listening to radio. I just changed my mind. I cannot go back. My feelings, I have to work for you, for RFA. So he was so happy. And then he gives me time. Maybe you are too excited. So it's gonna be huge, like
Responsibility.
not
Change in your life.
change, and you're gonna lose so much, you know. Maybe your family gonna get in trouble for that. The RFA really inspired me, RFA. So after I came, so many intelligent people, our elites, Uyghur, like we have like doctors, you know, the PhD, like archaeologists working on there. So many intelligent people, I learned so much from them. And then they were suffering because of, after you working in, even Chinese government, if they know you listening our radio station, they can just arrest you or sentence 10 years or more. You can imagine working for the Radio Free Asia, what they could do. So even that time, we all in pressure. That's why that time I came, I saw others use another name, not the real name, but I decided to use my own name because my voice is recognizable. Even I use different names. I just want to inspire our next generation who are following me from the childhood, you know. I just want to tell them freedom not comes free, you know. I just want to inspire them. For freedom, you have to suffer, you have to give up something to get freedom, you know. That's why I decided to use my real name.
You've been working 17 years for
Yes,
RFA now.
voicing, yes.
And for 17 years you have been reporting on the Xinjiang region and the various issues.
Yes.
So how did you see the issues changing? How has the situation changed in Xinjiang since the time you first started to report? And how is it now?
This is a very important question you're asking. Thank you. So in 17 years, we non-stoply working on those human rights abuses toward to Uyghur people by China. I think this crackdown, Uyghurs, those policies, is like, hold on please, systematic policy. We can see the Chinese government losing up a little bit, like few months or years, then they tighten up again. They loosen up a little bit, tighten up again. So every time like wave, you know, bigger and bigger. But this time, after Xinjiang come, 2016 August, he turned our country, the Uyghur land, to totally police station. You can see every few hundred meter is the police station. Everybody's phone has to be taken several times, and the cameras everywhere, even in your house. So recently, from the 2017, they constantly build those facilities used for
They detain them over there.
yeah, detained, huge. This time, like they start with religious people, then everybody now. So our elites, the successful people, what they should learn in that camps, Chinese call re-education camps. But we know doctors, PhDs, the book writers, artists, famous football players, what kind of education they need over there. It's like determined camp. It is. So right now, journalists in some in the Google images, we saw those determined camps non-stoply building, and then how many people in there, it's just guessing right now. We don't know the exactly number of the people who are there, and then are they alive or not, because we only know they're in. Only few people out. So the camp start after Xinjiang came, ruled Xinjiang, ruled East Turkestan. So right now the situation is worsened day by day.
So what's the situation at your own home? We heard that your family is persecuted.
The pressure was there 17 years continuously. After I work in RFA, our family members, my friends, even my teachers, all targeted by Chinese government. They were in pressure. So I don't even contact with any of my friends, any of my neighbors or the relatives, only close family members I contact with, just parents and my brother and my aunt and few cousins. I heard my brother, Kaisar Qiyim, my only brother, was taken by Chinese officials, policies, 2017 to 28th of September. I heard from my mom, because every time I call my parents few times a month. So every time I call them, I ask my brother we speak just few words, But this time she didn't give phone to my brother. I asked, how's he doing? And my mom was crying. And I noticed something happened. So I asked her, she says, yes, police came and took your brother, says, because of you. So I asked the police, why you taking my son? What he did? He answered back, his sister over there, is that not enough for taking him? He just answered back this. So that time I was asking my mother to publish this news. about my brother. I want to help him. No other way. I cannot go back. They cannot come here. Only I can ask from government is just publish this news, but my mother says you will put your brother and our family more worsen situation. Just please keep quiet. Maybe they will just few months after they will release, and we were awaiting, and then this year, February 3rd, I received phone call from our neighbor's daughter. She called me, says, "Did you hear, sister? Your parents, all your family members, 25 people arrested by Chinese government in same day." And I was shocked. I couldn't believe. I said, "Why? How you know?" And she says, "I know because my mom told me, because they're our neighbors." And then I just immediately called back to my home. Nobody picks up the phone. I called my father, mother's cell phones, my brother, my cousins, like around 30 people maybe. Nobody picks up phone. And then suddenly my aunt, my mother's older sister, she's at home always because of she has very bad heart disease. She just did the operation. That's why she's at home. She picks up the phone. She says, "Don't worry about us. Don't worry about your family, your parents. Just don't call again," and then hang up. I cannot describe my feeling at that time. It's a huge guiltiness, you know. It's because the phone says because of me they've been arrested. But I feel so helpless, and then even I don't know where they taken, you know. Are they alive or not? Mostly my father was in hospital that time. How can they move them, and why? You know, my father 4 years ago, he had a stroke. Half of her body cannot move, paralyzed. He cannot depend on himself. So my mother also needs medical treatment that time because of her foot. In this condition, I was like so much worried, but I don't know what to do. And the first thing I just called the police station, government. I was asking like desperately, like no any answer. I called to the doctor office who's my father seeing this. Even he says he don't know. And the hospital doesn't know my father. Where's my father?
What's your worst fear about your family? Something which when you sleep at night and that comes to you every time.
I cannot describe that, you know. My brother disappeared already over a year.
I understand.
They're alive or dead, I don't know. I cannot imagine how they're suffering in that jails, the camps, whatever they call. our work is focused on those detention centers called re-education camps, Chinese call the camps. Few survivors from the camps, as they describe, this is hell. Not enough nutrition, no water at all. You cannot sleep regularly. Forced to sing red songs. Patrolled by army and polices. And non-stoply questioning. And you cannot even speak your language inside, especially ill-treated people. Horrifying stories coming from there. So every time I hear those stories, immediately thinking about my parents, my brother and my cousins. How can I help them? How could I help them? So if I just give it up, so many lives in my shoulder. Not only my family right now, millions of people just suffering like this. Even we are outside, we are enjoying the freedom inside us is suffering. Our soul is separated. It's very hard, but I don't have choice. We are the voice of those voiceless people. We are the hope of those people. So we have to continue what we're doing. We have to show those dark spots to the world, to getting attention for the Uyghur peoples. So we even don't know what is real inside, how many people inside, when they're gonna be released. It's so many questions we have to answer.
Can you elaborate a bit about the special labor camps and particularly about the cultural genocide that's happening? You were talking about the special culture of the region, so if you could tell our audience about the beautiful culture that the region actually had and how the cultural genocide is propagated.
Uyghurs are very cultural, rich of
You said
culture.
thousands of years old?
Thousands of years. What
are the cultural roots?
Roots, Turkic. Turkic culture. And we are Turkic people. We speak our own language called Uyghur language. Very rich, very beautiful. And our country rich of natural resources, rich of culture. And Uyghurs are love to dance, love music, love to celebrate, My father always tell me, my daughter, who's dancing in this world? Happiest people, generous people can dance. Morally, rich people can dance. That's why we are Uyghur, we are proud to be Uyghur, So I love dance, I love music. All Uyghur people love culture. Diversity culture is rich. Uyghurs are Muslim people, but they have in the history rich of Buddha culture too. We mixed up. You know, we keep some part of our the previous religious and the cultural, even bring to today. You know, we keep all those cultural. That's why it's a mixed up, very beautiful cultural. So, and at the same time, it's very different from the Chinese cultural. We are different people. That's why maybe Chinese government seeing that is a threat. Because Xi Jinping's dream is just one nation, one culture, Han Chinese culture. But we are very different. After Xinjiang come, what he's doing is to motivate people to marry with different culture.
I remember you were talking about it
Yeah.
in society.
And then they send like more than 1 million Han Chinese officials to Uyghurs' home to live together.
The five.
Yes, 5 together. They said
together,
five
yes,
together.
you
They said live together, sleep together, eat together, learn together, and work together or something. 5 together. So they've been doing that 2 years almost. The first of all, we think it's like want to control the Uyghurs' religion, life maybe called. But right now, even their culture, even the tradition, all like forcedly to replaced by Chinese culture. You have to accept their like food, their holidays, their clothes, their songs, everything. Language. Right now you cannot see any Uyghur language school. So all replaced by Chinese education in the region. From 3 years, kindergarten to the university. And not only in the camp, outside of the camp, you cannot use your language, live your cultural life, live your like proud identity with. So it is kind of cultural genocide. So they even banned all Uyghur history books, all the religious stuff like what is it called? Any
Scriptures.
any of Quran, any of the Islamic books, history books, Uyghur language books, and then all the buildings have some different like cultural shapes or something they just took away. Even you cannot pull halal sign to the any product, any restaurant. So the mostly dangerously we know the kids, they separated with families to the call like angel school they call, but it's the orphanage houses actually. Because of the both parents taken to the re-education camps, there's many kids. We don't have exactly the numbers of kids putting on those orphanage house controlled by the Chinese government. They brainwashed our kids, so they just teach Chinese culture, Chinese language only. So this is like a cultural genocide also. So we are so many elites already missing or died in the camps. Damage is huge and very deep. very deep to Uyghur society.
So why is the Chinese regime persecuting groups like Uyghurs, Falun Gongs, and House Christians?
You know, the Communist Party hates all of the religion because they want to control all people using this pressure, you know. Religious people, it doesn't obey to Chinese government. They just unsecure, you know. Because if you know morally the value of life, you don't believe what Chinese government says. You don't believe the communist party's value, you know. So you have own idea, own dream to follow. That's why Chinese government very like avoid, like develop the religion in the country. So seeing all the religious is evil in Chinese government's eyes, because the people doesn't believe what you say after they know the truth, after they know the value of life. So they cannot teach you the wrong stuff. That's why they just wanna keep far from the faith. People from the faith just believe what Chinese government's saying, you know. That's why in Communist Party eyes, no matter what you believe, if you have faith, if you have a religion, then you are gonna be in trouble. Yeah, that's why, because I feel the Chinese government doesn't feel secure, you know, because they know they are lying, because they know it's not the reality. Maybe just wanna use this punishment, you know, to using this fear of those people to control them.
So what's the source of your strength, the strength that you get, that you have to stand against an entire regime and to take such a very strong stand, even if that means that you have to sacrifice so much? From where does the strength come?
Love and hope. Love of my country, love of my family and my people. Hope of freedom, hope of one day we will back to our homeland. And then the support comes from the audience. Because they believe the truth, they tell us the truth. Because they know value about the truth, that's why they just take risk to tell the truth, tell what's going on in the region. So many brave people, you know, give us so many valuable information so we can work successfully. We can publish those news. Because of those sources, those people give us more strength, more energy to fight against Chinese government.